LoopsLab here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a very simple watercolor galaxy painting. The things you're going to need are some canceled watercolor paper, some watercolors, a couple of different varieties and sizes of paintbrushes, some paper towels, and 2 cups of water. So let's get to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some masking tape onto our watercolor paper. We're going to take it, and you can honestly do this whatever shape you want. I'm going to make it a rectangle, kind of like a skinny rectangle. So mask that off. Keep in mind that if you have thick masking tape like I have, your painting isn't going to be this wide. It's only going to be this wide. You want to make sure you press the edges down nicely so that they get nice coverage and that no paint will leak through that once you start painting. Once you have that down, make sure you have everything nice and covered. Press things down nicely with your fingers to make sure no paint will ever get under there. And now we're ready to begin. So what you're going to do is you're going to take some of your watercolors, take out that palette, and we're going to start mixing the colors for our galaxy. It's going to be a little bit more on the blue side than on the purple side. So just dab some water into your palette. We're going to have 3 colors, so just make 3 little puddles, like this. After you have these little puddles, wipe off your brush a little bit on your paper towel. Go to the darkest blue you have, soak up a lot of that color, drop it into your water, and mix. You're going to do this again, and you might want to test on the side of your paper to see if it's going to show up the darkest color you can possibly have it. This is going to be dark in most areas and light in some areas. So this looks a pretty good color right here, so I'm going to test it on the side of my paper. So it's dark, but I think I want a little bit darker, so I'm going to keep on going. Get a little bit darker. The more color from the watercolors you put in there, the darker it's going to be. There we go, let's try it. Alright, that's a nice dark blue that I like. Rinse off your brush in your first cup of water, and then soak up the excess water with a paper towel. Next, you're going to take some blue, drop it in the second puddle, mix, rinse, dab, and then go for some red and put in there, because we're going to mix up a purplish color. You're going to need more red than blue in this case. Okay, so let's try it. So that's a pretty good color. Just in case, I'm going to add a slight tad bit more of the blue. That's nice. Okay, so these are the 2 colors we're working with so far. Make sure to rinse off your brush, still in the first cup. Don't use the clean one yet. Then in the second one, get a little bit of your blue, put it in there, but this blue we want to be light. So you're not going to need very much. Test it out. That's pretty good, but I'm actually going for a little bit lighter. So take some of your second cup of water, some of the clean stuff, soak up some water, drop it into your light blue. Test that out. Alright, so that's the nice light blue we're going for. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and darken up the blue and purple a little bit, just a tad, because I think I want them slight bit darker. Alright. Rinse off your brush in the first cup, dab it off, and now take your flat brush. So now that you have this, take some of your clean water with your clean brush, and we're going to be using the wet on wet technique for the background of the painting. So just wet your paper. Now you don't want this to be dripping or anything like that, but you want it to be slightly damp and slightly glistening a little bit. So just cover the whole entire paper and make sure you cover it evenly so the color will spread out nice and evenly. Now this part is essential that you work pretty fast, because if you don't, then the water on the paper will dry before you even get to drop colors in. So make sure you work pretty fast when doing the background. Okay, now that I have my paper slightly glistening, I'm going to dab off my brush, go back in with my round H brush, and I'm going to take some of that dark blue and soak it up. Now, I'm going to plop some in some random places, kind of like dab it all around. So I'm looking at this color and I'm like, okay, I don't really like it. It's not dark enough on the paper. So I'm going to rinse my brush off. Quickly before this dries, take a little bit of my paper towel, and I'm just going to take up that color because I didn't like that color. As you can see now, there's no evidence that that was there. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that color, taking some of my water, dropping it in, mixing it up, and I'm going to keep on getting some blue in there. You can always do this because you might not always have the color you're looking for on the first try. Just keep on soaking up some of that color and dropping it in your water and then test it out. Okay, so this is how dark my color was before and this is how it is now. I think it's about the same, so I'm going to go a little bit darker because I didn't like how that looked on my wet and wet. Pretty good. I'm going to go a little bit darker. You can go any direction you want with your galaxy. I'm going kind of darker on the darker side, but you can go anywhere you want. You can make it a more purple galaxy, you can make it a lighter galaxy, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now that I'm happy with that blue, I'm going to dab off my brush, take my flat brush again, get it wet in the clean water, and wet my paper again. And I know that you might not want to be repeating this process over and over again, but the key to these types of paintings is you have to be patient with it. You have to keep on going back and trying different techniques. And it's gotta be a lot of drying time, I have to say. So you're just gonna need to be patient when doing this. And who knows, you might even need to start completely over. I'm not an expert at this stuff yet. I know enough to make this video, but I'm not an expert. So who knows, I may also have to redo this. Okay, nice and wet. I'm gonna go back in with my number 8 round brush, soak up some of that dark blue, and drop it in. So off the bat, I'm noticing I like this color a lot more than my previous color, which is great. I'm totally glad I spent a few extra minutes just to get this right. Just take up some of that color and drop it in wherever you feel fit. Make sure you work quick in these steps so that the colors that you add will blend together. Okay, I'm happy with this amount of blue. I'm going to go in with the purple. Take some of my brush, drop it in. And you might want to leave a couple white spaces because, we are going to add on stars later. It's just that I think it looks a little bit more natural when you don't completely cover the whole entire paper. Alright, I'm happy with the amount of purple. I'm going to take my light blue and start dabbing it on. I can tilt the paper at different angles, add some of the blue wherever I see fit. So I was gonna go for a dark shade, kind of more dark looking thing. But I'm realizing that even with the dark colors I chose to look dark here aren't looking very dark on my wet and wet. See, and I think that's fine. You can always switch around what you're gonna go for. As long as you think it looks okay, it's fine if you just switch it around. You can always mix up some more colors, drop in a couple more things. It honestly doesn't matter. Just be creative with it and kind of drop in whatever colors you see fit all around. You can also use your brush and kind of go in and kind of blend it by dabbing all around. See, this part right here I think looks a little bit harsh. I can kind of just go around like this. And so now you think, oh, this looks so boring. But I think it's going to be fine. I'm just going to let this dry. Finish your touches for the background. Wash off your brush, lay it down, and we're just going to let this dry. And you can always use a hair dryer if you feel not very patient at the time and you want to make it dry quicker, or you could just stick to letting it dry. If you have something to do, you can finish up what you're doing and then go do something you need to do, like a tour or something like that, and come back and it should be dry. This will probably, you want to make sure that this is completely dry. So that will probably take between 10 to 20 minutes depending on how wet your paper was. So just be patient with it, make sure it's completely dry, because if it's not, you'll ruin your painting when we add the trees and the stars. So I can't stress this enough, make sure it's 100% dry. Okay, I'll see you when mine's dry. Okay, so I'm back here and it's mostly purple. I'm just gonna really quick add some water to my blue one, which is kind of dried up. Mix that water up. Get some blue on my paintbrush. Drop it in. More blue. We're going to mix up the same blue, dark blue we had earlier. Keep on mixing it in and dropping it in. Pretty good. Okay. So, as you know, we had to let this completely dry, as I said about a million times. Because it is now dry, I'm not going to be able to do the wet and wet unless I get it wet again, so that's what we gotta do. Stick your flat brush into the clean water, get it wet. Make sure that it is completely wet so that you can keep on doing this wet and wet. Alright, it's wet. I'm happy. So I'm going to get this dark blue and drop in some more color up near the top so most of it's going to be visible. Make sure to just drop it in, kind of spread it about a little bit. And this is a galaxy. As you know, probably, galaxies aren't perfect. There's just a whole bunch of different colored stars. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, just kind of go play with it, make it crazy, make it weird. It's your painting, do whatever you want with it. You guys can make some touches. If you want, you can add some more purple. Do whatever you want to do. It's really up to you. Just a note, if you are going to be doing more touches of your original painting, I'm just saying it's going to make you have to wait a little longer for it to dry. If you're one of those people who don't like to be patient, you might not want to do this, and maybe just stick with what you had before. Okay, so this part is a little better, so I'm going to completely, like I've said a million times before, let this dry. And yeah, I'll see you next. Okay, so this is how it looks now. It's completely dry. So it's not looking too beautiful. So, I'm gonna keep it. I'm going to try to I might fix up some things, I might not. I have to say it looks a lot better in real life than on camera. I think it won't really matter much because it's mostly going to be covered at least halfway up with trees and then stars all the way over there. So I think I'm going to maybe drop in a few more blues, mostly purple, and then I will do the trees and stuff like that. So while I'm talking, I'm just going to show you that my cameraman is Pierre. He's my brother. He does most of my camera stuff and is super helpful. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly add some touches to this. So another note about this particular watercolor set that I have doesn't include black. This looks like black. This is actually brown. So I'm going to be using a very cheap watercolor kit. It happens to have black for my trees. I know this is probably $1 at the Dollar Tree. That's high quality. This is not. I'm going to be using this for my trees because it's my only option. So yes, I'm also going to be using a couple of different things. Like I might be using some paper towels to like dab clouds. I'm not sure. We're also going to be using acrylic paint for this. White acrylic paint. So just make sure you have some white acrylic paint on the hand while this is drying. If you don't, you can go grab some at the store for dirt cheap. And if you don't have it, you don't have to add the stars. It's just a nice realistic touch. Also, we're going to be using it a little bit of acrylic watered down to make a little moon. So yeah. Okay, so here I have some white acrylic paint. My painting is completely dry. And now I'm going to use the white acrylic paint and this really old, really messy brush I found that has a nice, like, thick and bristly brush to it. So, I'm going to take my acrylic paint, take some, and put some into this palette. You don't need much. Now, this is going to be a little messy. You might want to wear gloves. I'm not going to because I honestly don't care. I already have paint on my fingers. Dip your brush in the acrylic. Grab your thumb like this. And you can use it to just make really natural looking stars. They're not coming out very well because I don't have enough paint on. Just keep on flipping. Kind of looks like splatter to me a little bit. It's not turning out the way you want it. You can try using a different brush. And if you accidentally make some lines, like I have, they could be shooting stars. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. So, the stars are not by far the most attractive stars I've ever seen. That's fine. I'm going to just try using a different brush. So, I'm just going to go to my brush selection and pick out another brush that I think will work here today. I've picked out this also very old and messy brush that I have, but I think that also might work well with stars. Putting some more acrylic paint in there. The brush, soaking that paint up. Alright, so this is creating a little bit more of a nicer star pattern. Also, if you're going for a lighter galaxy, then you might not see your stars really well, because if you're, of course, the stars are white. If you're painting too light, then the white stars will not appear, because it'll be too hard to see on your super light painting. So this brush isn't doing me the best either. So again, experiment with different things. So as you see, I have a whole bunch of paint on my hand. That's fine. Go back over to your brushes. Pick a better option. I found these two brushes. I'm going to experiment with different first. Just make sure that you're using different brushes and just see what ones turn out best. That way in the future, if you ever, in any case, want to make stars again, you'll know what brush is yours. That was pretty good. It's not the best, so try this one. That one's nice. Okay, I guess this one so far is giving me the best result out of them all. So this is what I'm looking at right now. On the camera, you might not be able to see any of these stars, because like, one, the camera isn't very good. Two, my painting's so light. If you can see them, then good for you. As you can see, if you can see them, there's a couple of lines there. You can either one, try to go use your fingers to get those up. Two, deal with them, say they're shooting stars. You can do different things to make your painting look better. Alright. You can also take your round brush and maybe take some white on there. And just make a couple of nice white dots as bigger stars, and maybe like a planet. Take that, experiment with it, be creative. You can also use a toothbrush for this. I find that works pretty well too. Think about like some crazy things and experiment. Alright. I'm pretty happy with this. Now acrylic works a lot different than watercolor. So if you're using the watercolor brushes or acrylic, make sure you rinse it out perfectly, because acrylic will stain and it will stay on your brushes. So these old dirty brushes I don't care about very well. You should still rinse them out well. It doesn't really matter as much if they get used like that. So, I'm okay with this painting so far. You're going to have to go try to lift off some stuff to see how I get. So right now I'm just going to let this acrylic dry. It shouldn't take as long as watercolor because it doesn't have as much water in it. So this should just take maybe 5 minutes to dry. So I'll see you in 5 minutes. Also tip, make sure that you rinse off your palette thoroughly after you use acrylic on it, because like I said before, acrylic will stain. Okay, so now I do have black watercolor. I also have some black acrylic. I'm going to try with the watercolor first, and if I don't like it, I'll use some acrylic for the tree. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my zero brushes. This is a size 4, the round brush. Get some water and put it in the black. And yes, like I said before, this is a very, very cheap kit. So, yeah. Just test out your black. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, then you can use acrylic. Now, some of you more experienced people out there may be looking at me and saying, what is she doing? Why is she doing that? She's doing it all wrong. I hate her. And I understand I've not been doing this for too long. So I'm sorry if you see me doing this stuff wrong. I'm just trying to do my best and teach the more beginners out there how to do a simple watercolor painting. When I first started watercolor, I was super bad at it. I was taking class at CCA, which is the school I go to, and that's where I've learned all my stuff. I still take classes there. So yeah. But now I'm more experienced. I'm not super experienced, like I said. Although I kind of know what I'm doing. I like to say I know what I'm doing. So I was testing out my black, and I don't think it's gonna work out. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of black acrylic. I'm gonna take my wet brush, add in a little bit of water, mix that in, rinse my brush out thoroughly, dab it, take some more black paint, and now I'm going to start. So if you drop a thing and you see, oh no, it's too wet, dab off your brush, soak that up as much as you can, blend it off to the side, dry your brush, take your acrylic, and start painting again. So I'm going to start off with some black acrylic on the side, like this. Just do a line down, like this. This is how you start. And I'm going to take a little bit more and start feathering it out to make tree branches. So I'm realizing this brush is a little too thick. And sometimes it's better to use a thick brush. So I'm going for a little thinner. So I'm going to take this brush instead, which is a size 1, and try that. And even my painting isn't going to look the best. Who knows? It might look terrible, but it's a good way to start off. Also, sometimes when you make it a little bit more abstract, that can look really good too. And remember, trees aren't perfect, they're not symmetrical, they're not always the same size or shape. So just experiment with these different styles of trees and choose one that you like. Make sure to leave some white spaces in between. You can go a different style and do something like this. You're trying to not go realistic. And you know, of course, it's not going to look realistic at all. But you know, I'm not going for super realistic. I'm just going for looks decent enough to be in this video. I want to teach you guys. I want to make you guys learn. So I'm doing my best to teach you guys how to do a very simple watercolor painting. If I fail, I am sorry. You might be looking at my painting and be like, oh, it's not worth my time to do this painting. And that's okay. I won't get mad. Feel free to leave a comment and just tell us if there's anything you think I should change. Not only in this video, but in any video in general. If there's anything you think would just be better about my videos in general. Anything you think, like any video suggestions, I'll take most of those. And I'm sorry if I haven't been posting as often as you'd like. I'm trying my best, but with school going on, there's a buttload of work at CCA, and I just don't have time to post videos regularly. I'll try my very best to post one once a week, but I'm not gonna always meet that requirement. Please don't get mad at me if I don't meet that requirement, because it's highly likely that I won't get time to do it, or my mom won't let me, or I just don't feel like it. Although I will do the best of my ability to get it done as soon as possible so that you guys can have some more stuff to do out there. Make sure to give this video a like if you're enjoying it so far, and subscribe so that you can get new videos, see my new videos. Also, like I said before, make sure to post some video suggestions down in the comments. That way I can be able to post more videos because I will know what to post. I don't know what you guys like. I don't know what type of stuff you'll watch. So just post down below and tell me what you think. And if you want, you can take a little bit of black on your paintbrush, but not enough that it'll be as black as all the other stuff, and kind of do some lighter stuff in the background to make it look a little bit more far away. And even if you want, if you rinse your brush off with your acrylic very nicely, like I said, this watercolor wasn't dark enough. If you take that, you can do some stuff in the background and make it look like they're more far away trees. It honestly is just up to you. You can do whatever you like with this painting. Alright. You can do just whatever style you think will look good. Don't copy me completely if you don't want to, guys. Alright. I don't think this looks too bad at the moment. So, go leave it at this. Rinse off my brushes very, very thoroughly. Make sure they're completely rinsed. Dab them off. Put them aside. This is what we're looking at the moment. So real quick, I'm going to take my white acrylic, put some in there. I'm going to take the slightest bit, and I'm saying the slightest bit of black, mix it in with my white to make gray. You want a light gray, we're going to be doing the moon. Make sure it's completely mixed. Alright. So when you're painting with acrylics, you don't want water on your brush. So I'm going to use one of my drier brushes for this. Get some of my gray. And decide what side I want it on. I think this side will look slightly better. And this is a little touch that might not be noticeable, but if people do notice it, it'll add a little touch of detail. You don't want people to look at your painting and say, wow, looks like you spent 5 seconds on that, even though you put a lot of work into it. You want people to look at that and say, wow, looks like they added so many details. And if it doesn't look exactly how you want it, you can always go back, start over maybe, or change a few things. Or just trust that people will like yours, even if it's not exactly what you're going for. Alright. Rinse off your brush. Like I said, you don't want any extra acrylic on your brush. Now I'm adding a little bit more black to my gray to make it a little bit of a darker gray. Rinsing off my brush. Taking that darker gray color, again, dry off my brush more. Now taking some of that darker gray color, I'm going to see if I can add different details to the moon. Make it look more realistic. You don't have to do this step. I think it just adds a little something. Alright, rinse off all the brushes you used at least. I used almost all of them, only except that one little lonely brush that didn't get used. Rinse them off super well. Dab it off with a paper towel. Take your thinnest brush, use some black acrylic paint, and choose if you want to sign it and where. I'm going to sign it. You could also use a pen if you want. I'm going to sign it at the top. This is my initials. As you can see, I'm taking a while because I'm trying to make it look thin and not absolutely horrible. Alright, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. After this is done, you can peel off the tape, cut it out, and it will look amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to share this video with your friends if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.